What is up, guys? We got the Asus Zenfone 8 versus the Galaxy S10e. These are two compact smartphones, so let's get started. We have a newer flagship versus an older flagship. So I want to go ahead and break it down for anybody that's thinking about upgrading, or you don't have either of these phones and you want to get one and you want to see which one do you actually need. So let's go ahead and break it down here. So the Asus Zenfone 8. You can pick it up for around $700 to $800 depending on which configuration you get, and the S10e is in a completely different class when it comes to price. You can actually pick these up used, refurbished for $200 now, and brand new I believe it'll cost you $400, so it's still much cheaper than the Zenfone 8 here. So starting off with hardware, since they're both compact phones, this is probably one of the most important parts of this, because if you have smaller hands, which phone is more comfortable here? So let's just go over and see which one is bigger. The Asus is definitely taller and it's definitely a little bit thicker and definitely heavier as well. So I do want to mention that they're both premium designs, which means they're both glass and metal designs, and they both actually have an IP68 dust and water resistant rating as well. Alright, so let's talk about the displays on both of these phones, because I think that's a really important part here. So on the Zenfone 8, you do have a Super AMOLED 120Hz display. It is HDR10 plus. It gets a peak brightness of 1100 nits. It's 5.9 inches, 1080p, 446 for the PPI. On the S10e, you actually have a slightly smaller display at 5.8 inches. The dynamic AMOLED display, HDR10 plus, 1080p, 438 for the PPI as well. So it is slightly smaller. So basically, I think that's pretty important because of reachability, and the smaller the display, obviously the better for somebody with smaller hands. But again, it could be too small. So did Asus reach the best spot at 5.9 inches? They're both comfortable to hold, I will say that, but I do think the S10e to me is definitely more easier to like reach with one hand. For me, like I said, somebody with smaller hands, you still kind of have to like, I'm not gonna say shimmy it as much, but you definitely can use this with one hand. It's just I do find the S10e to be slightly more comfortable, at least for me at least. So I think it's pretty much depends on the size of your hands, honestly. And Asus does throw in this little gesture right here. See if I can do it. Yeah, that you can swipe down like the iPhone kind of if it is too big for you. But as far as display quality, they both have really beautiful displays, but obviously I have to give it to Asus here, definitely, because it has the 120 hertz, which the S10e is lacking. So that is one of the things that I think is super important these days. Now, you might not need 120 hertz. Basically, it just makes everything feel extremely smooth. If you're into gaming, you can take advantage of games that support 120 hertz and stuff like that. But as far as display quality, they both get very bright. They also both show very good colors as well. They both have a punch hole, so a lot of similarities here. It's just the S10e is slightly smaller, but you do overall have just a better panel with that just silky smooth 120 hertz. It is really nice as well. So definitely for display, I give it to the Zenfone 8 here. Alright, so I do want to talk about software. So this is very important. So they pledged 2 years of updates for the Zenfone 8. So it's running Android 11. The S10e is running Android 11 with One UI. Basically, Asus UI here is pretty much stock Android with a couple little tweaks here and there. And with One UI, you have a ton of software and features and stuff like that you can get to. And I think for software, you do have a bit more stuff on the S10e with One UI with your secured folders. You also have on here the reverse wireless power sharing feature on here, so I can charge up another device with the S10e wirelessly. And you also have on here your Samsung desktop mode as well. So I think for software features, I think the S10e definitely takes the cake there. But you also have this super clean, silky smooth version of Android 11 on here as well. And also you are going to get technically more updates. I believe Android 12 is going to be the last update for the S10e, I believe, and this will get 12 and 13. So you will technically get more updates on the Zenfone 8, so that's something to consider as well. All right, let's discuss speed on both of these phones. So On the Zenfone 8, you have the latest and greatest Snapdragon 888 chip and the Adreno 660. You also do not have any micro SD support, so do note that 128 gigs of internal storage and 8 gigs of RAM on this model. On the S10e, you have the Snapdragon 855 and Adreno 640. You actually do have micro SD support, and you also have 128 gigs of internal storage and 6 gigs of RAM. So the S10e does beat the Zenfone 8 in storage. So you can, obviously have more storage because you have the SD card support. I'm not sure why they didn't include that with the Zenfone 8, but it's in the S10e, so that is something to consider. But as you can see with these Geekbench scores, you can see the, obviously you're going to have much better scores. I don't think it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, but here are the actual numbers. But you guys know I'm not into numbers, I'm into how this stuff works in the real world. So let's go ahead and see if we can get a speed test, see what kind of speed we're looking at here. Zenfone, S10e right behind it. Instagram, Zenfone, and the S10e is right behind it. The biggest thing you'll notice is, again, the scrolling, the smoothness with the scrolling with the 120 hertz. It is like night and day. Like, it's not even close. It does feel extremely silky smooth. Okay, Subway Surf. Boom, and you can see, look how close the S10e is in speed. Like, it's barely lagging behind. So I've always been impressed when this phone got the Android 11 update. It's really fast, but obviously it's not gonna beat the it's not gonna beat it. That was super close. And I think we'll see more of a difference. Oh, the S10e actually looked like it got it there. Yeah, it looked like it actually beat it there. Let's try PUBG, a heavier game. See how that works. It looks like we're in on the Zenfone. S10e, we're in. Now for all of my gamers, on PUBG, you can see you have extreme FPS on the S10e balance, and we can even go ahead and download Ultra HD. We have extreme frame rates on both of these devices. Download Ultra HD, so you pretty much have the exact same gaming experience. So there is no actual difference when it comes to at least the FPS in most games that you're going to play. The big difference, like I said, that you'll see a difference when it comes to games that support 120 hertz and stuff like that. But yeah, so you're just not gonna see that graphics difference. But they both play games really well, for compact phones. And to me, compact phones definitely aren't, gaming phones. Like, you can play games really well. But the reason why I say I wouldn't go like really hard is because these phones have very small batteries. So, it's just not, it wouldn't be an ideal, gaming choice for me. But if you do want to do gaming on a smaller device, definitely, both these phones, like you saw, play games and really well, and they have excellent settings. All right, let's go ahead and hear the speakers. Like I said, they both have stereo speakers. Let's go ahead and max them out, see which one sounds better. Jeez, man. The speakers are just so crazy on this device. Yo, it's not even close. They're both loud. They're both about the same loudness, right? But the bass difference is actually hilarious on the Zenfone 8. It's like extremely clear. It's like it's got a little subwoofer in it. That's no knock to the S10e because it does sound really great, you guys know. But yeah, it's no competition. The Zenfone 8 100% takes speaker quality there. Alright, let's go ahead and discuss getting into the phone here. So on the S10e, you have two methods. You have your physical fingerprint scanner right here, which works extremely fast. You can see that. And then we also have the option to do face unlock as well. With the Asus, you have a more modern way of doing it, but is it better? It's really up to the person. So this really comes down to what you prefer. The fingerprint scanner, in-display fingerprint scanner, is definitely really fast. So I can't really knock it for that. And then you have face unlock on here, which works really fast as well. So they both are extremely fast when getting into your device. It depends on which one you prefer. Some people really prefer a physical one. I really like this method, but also the in-display, fingerprint scanner is way cooler. Let's just be honest, it's definitely cooler to have an in-display fingerprint sensor. So again, comes down to personal preference. Here, both of these phones have NFC as well for your mobile payments and stuff. And what's really cool about the power button on the Zenfone 8 is that it's actually remappable. So if you see I hold it, it'll bring up YouTube. And I think if I double tap, yeah, it'll bring up Google Chrome as well, which is really cool. So I've always loved that. Alright, I do want to talk about the cameras. So you do have a 64 megapixel lens on the Zenfone 8, and then you have a 12 megapixel ultra wide lens. It actually shoots in 8K 24 frames per second, which is crazy. And then you have a 12 megapixel selfie camera that shoots in 4K. On the S10e, you do have a 12 megapixel standard on here, and then you have a 16 megapixel ultra wide that shoots in 4K, and a 10 megapixel selfie cam that shoots in 4K. Basically, you will get just more detailed shots on the Zenfone 8 for sure, and you do have the higher resolution video as well to take advantage of. But when I say that these two phones are pretty close in image quality, they definitely are, especially if you don't turn on the 64 megapixel, then they're super close, but when you do turn on, you'll notice. But the Zenfone 8 takes beautiful photos. The main difference that I noticed with both of these cameras is that the Zenfone 8 takes more natural photos, while the S10e will tend to do the more oversaturated sort of Samsung image processing thing that they do to make everything more lifelike. But I do like the more natural color science on the Zenfone 8 for sure here. It takes great photos. Like I said, they both take really great photos, but I think the overall image quality I would give to the Zenfone 8. But definitely, as you can see from the shots with the S10e, it still takes excellent photos. I still think it takes really good photos, especially at this price point as well. So I don't think you'd be disappointed if you wanted to get the S10e and take photos with it. It still takes excellent photos, and I would highly recommend you guys check out the unboxings and videos that I did on both of these phones, because I talk about it a little bit more. But yeah, so definitely great cameras on both here. Alright, let's go ahead and discuss the battery life situation, because it is actually a pretty interesting situation here. So with the S10e, you have a 3100 milliamp battery, 15 watt charging, and then you have wireless charging with reverse wireless charging. On the Zenfone 8, you do have a 4000 milliamp battery, so a bigger battery, and then you have 30 watt fast charging, so you have faster charging. But there is no wireless charging on the Zenfone 8, so there is zero wireless charging on this phone, and there's no reverse wireless charging like the S10e has. That is something to take into consideration. Do you want wireless charging with the reverse wireless charging feature, or do you want a slightly bigger battery and you also want faster charging with with a cable? So that comes down to personal preference. Me personally, I prefer like the faster charging device here, because this charging at 15 watts is kind of slow. But yeah, but also the reverse wireless charging is just really a cool feature to show off to people, honestly. I'm not even gonna lie. But yeah, so, and having wireless charging is always convenient, so you sort of have to pick and choose which one matters most to you. I'm going to say for battery life, both of these phones are actually kind of subpar in battery life. That's always been the compromise with smaller devices, is you get kind of mediocre battery life. So they both kind of struggle to get through like a full day of like kind of medium use or medium heavy use. I would say you have to be like a really light user to get through a full day with these phones. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That is the Asus phone versus the S10e. What do you guys think? Which phone would you guys go with? Are you spending the more money, or are you spending less? Be sure to let me know, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.